Good evening, everybody. This is Gene from Phoenix 15 Studios Arts and Crafts here with a very special guest, a local artist by the name of Gwenn Seemel. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So we've been sporadically in contact off and on for the last 2 years. We opened our location 2 years ago, and we reached out to a bunch of local artists just to let them know, we were there. And we just kept in contact. But I will say, just hands down, your work has been amazing to look at over the years since we've come into contact. Your technique and everything is just outstanding. So my
Thank
wife
you
and
so
I are
much.
always like, "Oh, did you see Gwen's post today? Or did you see her blog?" So we're always going crazy about your stuff, but amazing work. So thank you for always sharing and being so forthcoming with your work. So let's just start with you, who you are, where you're from, and how you got started.
Okay, so I my site. If you go to my site, the first thing that you see is French American artist, and I get some feedback. I've gotten feedback about that over the years. Like, why is it such a big deal for you to put that there? It came. It was a while for me to come into that identity as French American, to accept that yes, my mother is French, and I was raised part-time in France, and that I could call myself French. I still feel very French in the United States, but also very American in France. So I still feel kind of funny calling myself a French American artist and claiming both of those identities, but it is important to me. And my site is in both languages, and I do that work in part as a tribute to my grandmother, because when she died in 2010, I realized she was my last real link to France, my last family obligation. Like, I still have cousins there and stuff, but she was the person that I was still going to visit. And I
Right,
realized if I don't become French professionally, I will lose that part of who I am and who I've been. And
right.
so that's a big part of me. And then I ended up in Jersey following my partner here. We met in Portland, Oregon, where I was living and had lived for years. And he was visiting a friend for a summer, and then he ended up staying for 10 years after he met me that first summer.
Right.
It was my turn to spend a few years by his parents. And so his parents live at the Jersey Shore. So we ended up on LBI.
LBI. So I did a training for a job I hated many moons ago in LBI. So I had to drive there every morning from the Pensacola area. So
It
but
is not the easiest place to access. It is
yeah,
not.
I mean, it's straight through Medford. It was like a 2-lane road and just all forest on either side.
It's pretty, yeah.
And I remember the ride distinctly because there was just no shortcut. It was just this is the way to get there.
Yeah.
Um, so you decided to settle there and stay there. What is the art scene like in that area?
I mean, I want to preface this with, I love all art expressions.
Right,
There's just certain expressions that I am more interested in.
right, right, right.
I'm going to say that the stuff around here tends to be really tourism based. So it's a lot of seashells and lighthouses. And while I love that people are expressing themselves and selling their work and stuff, it's not really my thing. My stuff is
Right,
more commentary based. I am not averse to making things that make you happy, like making images that make you happy, just not necessarily of seashells and lighthouses. So
right, right, right.
there's not too much of a scene beyond the seashells and lighthouses. I do work with a gallery on the island called Wildflowers 2. It's up in Barnegat Light, like all the way on the end of the island. And I know the gallery manager there, and she supports the commentary in my work and makes me feel good about having my work up in that space, because I know
Right,
that there'll be someone there who understands it. So when people are like, "What is this? It is not a lighthouse," she's like,
right,
"I
right.
know, isn't it amazing?" So um, but yeah, so there's some cool stuff around here, but nothing like, not really my thing, I guess is the way.
Right, right. Yeah, we've experienced some of that because we had a few shows at our place, and we had a variety of artists with all different styles and different things. None bad, but just some were just like, okay.
Yeah,
Really had
it's
to
kind of like,
talk to them. Had to
yeah,
talk to them during the show to really kind of get in line with what they were trying to purvey
I
in,
imagine
in
it's
their
not
work.
very easy as a venue to always be
No,
able to
it
like talk about the work, and it must
yeah.
be a
Yeah, I would
challenge.
say it helped me have a more open mind, and it made me want to speak to the artist more behind the work
Yeah.
than to actually look at the work and say, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I want to know what drove you or what brought you to this point. That was kind of the
Yeah.
interesting part for us. So we really have taken like a step to just communicate with more artists, whether it be musicians, visual artists, or poets, whatever, and
Hmm.
really kind of find out who they are and what drove them to create and get to the point where they were able to create what they created.
And that's a service too for artists, because a lot of artists are not really comfortable talking about their work. But if you get someone,
Oh, I know.
no, but if you find someone who's like good at connecting with them, like I imagine you are, then it helps them to learn to talk with people that they maybe don't feel as much of a connection with. It like helps
Right.
them. Oh, they like hear themselves say something, and like, and they might retain it to like say it again next time.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
You
really
know,
great to do that.
it's been a very interesting portion of what we've done so far, just reaching out to artists and not getting answers and getting answers sometime, but not really not really understanding where they're coming from. Them thinking that we want something from them. Like it's just all these different responses and trying to be clear that we are here to service the community. Basically, that's pretty much what we're here for.
Nice.
We don't want any money, we don't want anything, we just want to service the community. How can we support you as an artist? So up to and including offering space on our website to those that don't have one and things of that nature.
That's
So we
really
do have
cool.
2 artists that are on our website right now. We're trying to sell work for them. We're delivering it, doing whatever we need to do to get them, and the money just goes straight to the artist. We don't take any commission or
Wow.
anything like that. So um what has this year been like for you? I know it's been pretty hectic for everybody. Creatively, what has been working, what hasn't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my first reaction to COVID was to shut down. Like that was my immediate reaction, and I think that's pretty natural. Like
Yeah.
just overwhelmed by the uncertainty of it, and by the uncertainty of how it was going to be handled by our
Right.
current government, and all of these things. So there was that, and then I sort of found cracks in my creativity where I could worm my way back in. There was
Right.
like a piece that I had started in 2017 that wasn't very, it was just design. It wasn't like an image where I had to really capture something. And so I was like, I can finish that now. That is something that I can do. It is something that I can make look nice. I can finish that process. And once I sort of wormed my way back into my creativity through that piece, I was able to start making stuff. And I started making a series that's specifically inspired by COVID. It's the Lifesavers fan art
Yeah,
series.
we
So
did see that.
I'm picking out just pop culture characters, not even characters that are necessarily my like fandoms. Like
Right, right.
I don't have kids. I've never watched Dora the Explorer until I decided to make this piece. But I wanted to make artwork that people would connect with and be like, oh, I know that character. I want to wear a mask like them. And when I say people, I mean kids,
Right.
little ones, but also big ones. You know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a house full. So I thought that was very interesting, and it caught me off guard when I first saw it, because I was like, wait a minute, that's not her MO at all. But then when I
Right.
read everything, I was just like, I get it. I totally get
And
it.
and some artists have joined me in doing it, and I hope any artists watching this who feel like they want to do it, please, if you want to just pick a character and put a blue surgical style mask is the idea to make it obvious it's a mask, and then share that image with everybody, but share it with me too. I will put it on my
Yeah,
site. I love the idea of these images sort of permeating our culture right now and helping to get
absolutely.
the word out about masking up. So
Yeah, it's
please do that. Please contact me if you want to do it.
as we deal with the rising second wave,
Yeah.
going into next year, what does this mean in terms of, venues where you can show your art and things like that? Like it's devastating to, your craft and the way you put it out there.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was really lucky when COVID hit that I was working on a book, because a book has the potential to get you press and sort of other people talking about it without it being like in a venue, like in real life space
right,
outside,
right.
because a book is like its own project. It's complete. It's an object that can be purchased. So so it was an alphabet book, which I published over the summer that I've been
Yes.
working on for a while. And so that really has helped me financially make it
Right.
through this crisis.
Right.
Because book sales, books are more affordable than original art. And also they make great gifts and people do want to buy them for the kids in their lives. So that has been, I was outrageously lucky in that moment to have been working on that.
Absolutely.
I had planned on doing it anyway because I wanted to be working on stuff that was not overtly political this year, knowing that 2020, the election year, it would get probably really vile because of Trump. I had decided I want to be working on stuff that there's a political thing to it. Literacy is political, weirdly enough. Education is political, is politicized in the United States, weirdly enough. But that it wasn't so overtly political like some of my other stuff where I'd been painting Trump. And so anyway, I had that kind of forethought, but of course no one could foresee the pandemic happening this year. And I just happened to be
And
really
dragging
lucky.
out this long. I know when it started, everybody was saying, "Oh, by the summer we'll be."
I know.
And here we are going into
But
Thanksgiving.
books are a really good way if artists are looking for something to help them bridge stuff. I sell my books print on demand, so I'm not putting out money to have it out in the world. People are purchasing it from Lulu, which is the site that I work with. There's plenty of print on demand sites. It's just the one that I like. And then Lulu pays me quarterly, from whatever it's making from sales.
So, we had an author.
It is a way.
I guess about 2-3 weeks ago, we had an author who I purchased a copy of his book from that service. I had never heard of it, and it was here in probably about a week. Nice. And it was well done. So we'll definitely look at getting a copy of that for our daughter. We have a 3-year-old, we have a 9-year-old, and then the rest of our kids are teens. So they will enjoy it for sure. I guess the main thing for us is to keep the name alive. So we had the physical space. We actually gave this physical space up for financial reasons and just what was going on in the world at the time. It just didn't seem feasible to keep a space that we didn't know whether we were going to be able to use or what the situation was going to be. So reluctantly, we gave it up. Right before all the bad stuff really started to happen. When you see this all over with, what are your plans? What do you have planned as far as going into the future? Let's get right into the whole social media situation and just kind of moving on from that.
Yeah, so as of tomorrow, as of the 12th of November, I will be officially deleted completely from Facebook and Instagram. I'll still have some other social media sites like Twitter and YouTube and stuff, but I made that decision. It was something that had been coming for a while. Also, I had taken a break last year, the fall of last year. I took 3 months off to see what it felt like, I guess, as part of it, because I feel like I really came up as an artist on these social media sites. Like I was using them as an independent artist right as they were starting in like 2006, 2007, 2008. And, my career has been mentioned in like books about how to sell your art online specifically because of my social media presence, I feel like we sort of grew up together. And then in 2016, it was like this person, if social media is a person that had been part of your life, since the beginning of, your career, beginning of your artist life, suddenly like turned into this like weird, just alien evil monster thing, driven by algorithms that basically neutered my ability to use social media as a way to promote my work, because you could only get likes if you already had likes. Basically, it was just promoting whatever was keeping people on the sites.
Right.
So this whole narrative that social media helps independent artists, not true anymore. Not true since 2016. And so it took me a while to realize it's not coming back. The old social media is never going to be again. And so I've decided to move on from it. As to what that will look like when this is all over, I really don't know. I'm really still in this uncertainty eating up my brain. I don't know about you, of worrying whether Trump will actually concede
Leave.
ever.
Yeah.
So my days, I feel like my brain is just overly full of uncertainty. Like the uncertainty takes up so much more space than I ever thought possible.
Yeah.
So I'm not, and I've never been very good at imagining what it will look like, but I don't know. What are your plans? What are your
Well,
designs for
we kind of went the reverse. So our whole adventure, like we have both been creative in our own, respective hobbies
Uh-huh.
forever. But we've been in our basement doing it by ourselves. We've never put anything out. We've never done anything. And then, we met with some other friends that were artists, and we were going to do this thing together. And then there was some creative differences there. So they did their thing and we did ours. And that was our jump into just, live public art events. Francis was doing art instructionals and crafting events and teaching crocheting and just everything that she knew how to do. She was sharing it. And I dove into, website building and video editing and just all these things that I'd kind of tooled with, but never really gave any serious time. And once COVID hit, we switched to the digital side.
Yeah.
So we started the 4 YouTube channels, just out of sheer boredom and a need to kind of continue our mission, that we started, and being Stonewall, like we hadn't done an event since January. And here we are, and I guess it was around July. And we just said, why don't we just start doing stuff online just to kind of keep, you know,
Yeah, keep
keep
the name on it,
ourselves
like you said.
going.
Yeah.
And so far it's been a really good experience. I think it just added another facet to what we will continue doing once all this is over with. But I feel like we have a greater reach now. Um, and not necessarily because of Instagram or Facebook. I don't think they've been a big part of our mild success. I think we've just had built a good community of people that we've met over the years and
Yeah.
just kind of branched out and continued to grow that way. So it's a lot of word of mouth, a lot of just talking
Yeah.
to people on the phone, not through text messages
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
just like really reaching out to people. We've had people over here, before it got really bad, and done interviews here, just trying to connect with people as much as possible. But this has helped. We just got an email yesterday from a guy who watched one of the videos, and he wants to connect and talk about doing some virtual art events and things like that. So
Nice.
that's the best part of this. But I don't know what it's going to look like. I just know it's going to be busier because we're going to have the live art events, and then we'll still have the YouTube channels to
Mm-hmm.
kind of put.
Mm-hmm.
But those live events can also feed the channel, so we'll figure that out once it comes. But I
And
don't
you
know
have your
what it.
site. You have your site too, which I think is
Yeah,
really smart, because a lot
yeah,
of people, I get it, Instagram, Facebook, it's so easy to feel like you have a site, but it's not yours. You have a site, and it is a little harder to maintain, but it's so worth it to have your own home on the
it
web.
is. It is, and
Yeah.
that was like, I think we did that before we even signed our lease at the space, because I just felt like it was important from, I guess, a marketing standpoint, and just
Mm-hmm.
having a home base for everybody to kind of come and see what we were doing.
Yeah.
What events we were having, what artists we were having in the space. And we still, like, even when we weren't active at all from pretty much February to July, there was
Mm-hmm.
still traffic to the
Mm-hmm.
website. So I kind
Mm-hmm.
of felt good about just picking up and kind of adding to what we were doing.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's going to look like next year. I have no clue. I know it's going to be busy, but
Yeah.
I don't know, because we have our day jobs too. So we do this at night, and then we just kind of roll it all together however we can. But we shall
That's a lot.
see. We'll see what comes of 2021. I don't know. I'm just looking to get to January 20th, and then we'll see.
Right.
We'll see what happens
Right.
after that. Um, the outdoor events this fall and this summer pretty much got obliterated. How big of a hit was that to you? I can imagine with the tourists and everything, they probably have a lot of outdoor events down that way. Did they
Yeah.
try to do anything at all? Or was it just like, we're done with everything?
No, there were some events. I personally don't do a lot of like tent, like marketplace type events anyway, because I have endometriosis, and so my ability to sit for hours on end and be in the public is not, I'm not good at that.
Right,
So
right, right.
that's just never been my thing. They did do some, yeah, I mean, I guess it was well enough attended. People LBI tends to be a lot of second homes. We're renters. We're those people that are, looked down on in this community. We're one of the
Right.
few year-round renters.
Right.
But a lot of the people, come here and they have a lot of money. They have their second homes and they were just looking to spend. I know some business owners on the island who are like, this was our best year ever. And it just, I'm glad for them.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Like the people who were coming here were just desperate to like have any sense of normalcy. I mean, the business owner that I'm talking about is someone who sells fudge specifically. So like they wanted their comfort foods,
Right.
like,
Right. Yeah.
So
Especially in the beginning when you were just in the house. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. We were there.
Yeah, and I'm there again. I definitely like I'm one who's like looking up new recipes because I'm so tired of everything I've ever made. Like I'm like, just give me anything else to eat.
We're there too. So we did venture. So that's the one good thing about this whole pandemic is it just pushed us into new spaces. So YouTube and like recording ourselves and putting it on YouTube, never even on the radar at all. Prior to this, I learned to build computers. I built 2 computers.
That's awesome.
We learned how to cook vegan and vegetarian dishes.
Nice. So you can have me over. I'm vegan. I've been vegetarian for years and I just became vegan.
Awesome.
So you can have, I'm inviting myself over basically.
I am dying. So I have 2 friends. One is vegan and his wife is vegetarian. My father's vegan. So after I learned all these recipes, I was like, oh, now when they come over, we don't have to order, white pizza and all this, the same run of the mill stuff. And then all this happened and I haven't been able to have people over, but I cannot wait to make a vegan smorgasbord for people to enjoy because I think I've gotten pretty good at it.
You practice, you got out all of the practicing on yourself and now you're like, I'm ready for an audience.
So the biggest thing was if the kids eat it, then I know and they did not complain, not once. So we're probably 70-30, with vegan, vegetarian. We do still eat meat, but we are definitely eating probably better than we've ever eaten.
Hey, it's all good. I always, when I get people like looking at me because I'm vegan, I'm like, I don't care what you do, but try eating less meat. Just try it. Every little bit helps. It
hasn't been horrible. I will say I never in a million years thought I would even want to try to eat differently. But it has opened our eyes up to a lot of different things and things even, I'm like the guy who will try everything. My wife needs a little more persuasion sometimes, but she's gotten a lot better with that. But we've both eaten things that we never thought we would eat before. And it's been a really good experience. But my dad is like way on the deep end. He started vegetarian, then went vegan, and now he's doing raw foods.
Oh yeah? So I've never gone there.
30-day raw foods.
Nice.
And nothing cooked. And I was like, wow, I don't have his dedication, but he's doing really well and he's enjoying it. My stepmom is, she's there, but she's all right.
If he's doing the cooking, right, then she's there, I would guess. That's how I am anyway.
He does interject here and there, but she is supporting him. So that's very important. I guess the next thing I wanted to bring up, and I think you as an artist and with your vlogging and everything that you do to communicate with your subscribers, you talk a lot about people supporting artists and not just gawking at their work and just taking it for granted and not really putting into the person that is creating all this stuff. Talk to me a bit about the things that have helped you drive your support system with your fans.
Well, I think just helping people to understand that art is not a luxury is a huge way of helping them to understand how they can support you. So when I say art is not a luxury, I'm saying that art is in everything. I mean, television, even, like the shows with the laugh tracks and the clap tracks and stuff, those are art. They are connection, they are human understanding. People are seeking out those shows for a reason. So if that's art and you can't do without that, or whatever it is, your kind of art that you really seek out, recognize that it's not a luxury. Sometimes you're just not paying for it as directly, like with, for example, television shows. You're paying through it by watching commercials, or you're paying through it through your cable bill, whatever it is. So that's corporate art, right? So
Right.
it seems like it's less money because it's every month and you're watching commercials. But independent artists also need that money. So it may seem more like a luxury because independent art might be more expensive.
Right.
It doesn't have to be, but it might be. But it's not. So I guess the main thing is just, obviously you've noticed that I hammer on that message that it is important to support artists,
Yes.
and to specify that art is not a luxury again and again, so that people really understand, like, not just me, don't just support me, like support artists, any artists that you love,
Right.
find ways, and then encouraging artists also to find ways to like allow people to support them. So whether that's making a book so that it's more affordable than an original artwork, or putting your artwork on a print on demand site so that people can get t-shirts and stuff with it, that's also more affordable, or even doing like Patreon or some kind of ongoing micro donation situation,
Right.
where, like, Patreon, for example, is a website where you can sign up, and every month you will be automatically deducted from your bank account $1, $2, $5, however many you want to give to a specific artist, and it will show up in their bank account.
Right.
So that's a small amount of money that you can give every month, and without really thinking about it. But because it's probably not just you giving to that artist, it adds up. And that's one of the things that I do to have a regular income. I do have patrons who do that. So yeah, I think I hate to say that artists just need to get better at educating their audience, because that sounds kind of condescending.
Right. Right.
But I guess it's not education so much as like, I guess a desire to share the joy of art, and also the recognition of art as something that is already a part of your life, and
Right.
you're already paying for it, but you might just be paying for corporate art. And wouldn't it be nice to also pay for some independent art? Just like putting it out there.
Yeah, probably more gratifying in most cases these days when it
Yeah.
comes to anything in the media. I wouldn't say it's void of creativity, but there's a lot of recycling and just kind of rehashing, and
Yeah.
there's something very clean about corporate art and the way things are
Mhm.
designed and done, where you don't see too many surprises.
Yeah.
One show we watched a bit ago called Legion. I don't know if you ever caught wind
No.
of that, but visually one of the most amazing shows I've seen
Yeah.
in a long time. So it was good to
Check it
watch
out.
because the story was good, but just visually, it was just so off the path of a lot of things that you watch. But you don't get that experience very often
Right.
on TV. Unfortunately, I wish there were more shows that kind of push the envelope that way, visually.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Patreon, when I was oblivious to it until about 2 years ago, and someone explained it to me, and I was like, people do that? Like, people will give you money?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, when I first got on it, I was like, okay, people may be giving other people art money, but are they going to give me money? And
Yeah.
and I know that that's the feeling. I so get it, because I still feel it sometimes.
Yeah.
But if you allow the opportunity for someone to do that, it may start really small. It may start with one or two people giving literally $1 or $2 a month.
Absolutely.
But if you keep on allowing that avenue to be open for people, people will find it, or hopefully you're inviting them to it, on a regular basis, reminding them that it exists.
Absolutely.
And they'll, you'll be able to connect with people that way. And it's something, it's actually a gift for them also, because they probably want to support you if they're doing it there, I would guess.
Absolutely.
And so you're giving them a way to support you that's meaningful, but also affordable.
Yeah. That's a big deal. A big deal.
Yeah.
So we will do our best to kind of push that message as well, as much as you have. And like I said, I did get the message because I watch your videos and I listen, and it were just points that you don't see many artists communicating as clearly and as well and as concisely as you do with your audience. So that is
Thank
huge,
you.
and a lot could stand to be learned from the way what you've done on social media. So as you walk away from it, I feel like we're losing something, but at the same time, I feel like you're gaining something, which is your freedom.
Yeah.
You're free now.
And I'm leaving, and it's not to say that I think that people are wrong to stay on it,
Right,
or even
right,
to
right.
be enjoying it. I'm just saying it's not what it was for me before. This is the right choice for me. And I still have a website. I still have a mailing list. These are the ways to connect with me and connect with me more personally too. Like what's been really fun about leaving is that I've been messaging people behind the scenes to say, hey, I'm leaving, but I don't want to lose contact with you.
Right.
And then then we've been having these amazing email conversations where, and it's not even necessarily right then. Like sometimes it's like 3 weeks later, someone will then email me a photo of their kid that they had put on social media that I might not have seen because of the algorithms and how it works, but I'm having it sent directly to me. And they're like, isn't my child adorable? And I'm like, yes, this is amazing. I want to see your child's picture specifically when it's sent to me. Like that is way more exciting than when it's just put up for anybody to see.
Yeah,
like I feel special and it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, these broad communications, it's not the same. I prefer to like, I'll say we'll communicate back and forth by direct message or email or whatever, but after a while I'm picking up the phone like let's talk for a minute and just kind of exchange names. Like sometimes people just have a screen name, they're not even a person by name. Like they just have this Instagram tag that you go by and you don't know their name or anything, and you've been watching them for years. So it's
and there is such an interesting thing about that. I'm totally blanking on her screen name. It's something like Mystic. She does a lot of fan art too, like making the image that comes to mind is Sailor Moon black instead of a white girl with blonde pigtails. And Mystic, some cosmic, I can't remember her name. I will totally email it to you. Yes. But I found out, like searching through her stuff because I love her stuff, that her name is Lauren. And it's not like it was hidden or something. Like she has a site and it's on her about page. Right. But I had this moment of like, I know her now because I know her name. Exactly. Like there was like this fun thing. So like there's a fun thing about those screen names, but at the same time, like sometimes you're like, wait, what is, like even you, I was like, wait, you're Jean. Okay, got it. Like, yeah,
it's been interesting, but I don't know, like I hear so many nightmare stories about YouTube, and we watched tons of videos. Like YouTube has been like the thing for us this year. Like we've gotten away from regular network TV and cable and everything. We haven't had cable in this house for about 3 years. So we survive on Netflix and other paid streaming sites. Yeah. We've even gotten away from that. So it's been just watching YouTube and learning vegan recipes, this and that, building computers, things like that. So then we were like, when we were going to start the YouTube channels, we're like, let's go on YouTube and learn how to start it. So it was this big thing where every video was like, how do you get paid on YouTube? How do you start a career on YouTube? How do you get 1 million followers in 1 year? And how do you do? And it just seemed so empty. There was nothing about like, all right, if I want to have a solid channel around arts and crafts and creative things, what is the best way to do? There was nothing specific like that. Everything was about subscribers, being monetized, which is fine. That would be icing on the cake. But the whole thing is, how do I make content that can reach the people that I would like to reach? You don't find a lot of instruction.
It is unfortunate. I mean, I don't know. Do you remember the web in like the early 2000s and how weird it was? Like people were hand building their sites and they were just so quirky.
And you could tell,
And I feel like we've lost so much. I mean, I get that there's a nice thing that when you go to someone's site, there's like more conventions about how it should be organized, so it's maybe easier to navigate. But part of me is like, oh, I liked having to figure out what this weird person's brain had like spit up onto the internet.
Did you ever see this movie called Donnie Darko?
Yes.
All right.
You know what? I don't actually remember the plot. I just remember how weird it is.
Yeah, super weird. One of my favorite movies because I just watch it, and every time I watch it, I think something else. But they had a website. I don't even know if it's still up, but they had a website that went with the movie.
Oh, really?
Delve deeper into the plot. And it was, you would literally just have to click in certain places, like things were moving, but it had no form. And when you would click a certain area, like a riddle would pop up and it would just kind of take you further and further down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's like an experience.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was, I don't know if it's still up, but I remember going to that website after watching that movie and I was like, man, this is awesome. But you don't, everything is very corporate.
Yeah.
And so to touch on that, we were going to start a different YouTube channel when this all started with another artist that we had at the studio. and he's traditionally a graphic artist and web designer and visual artist. He does great work. But we got to this crossroad where I didn't want to be a corporate looking kind of structured thing on YouTube. I didn't want to look the same forever. I don't want to have this like identity where we had to stick to a certain look. And he did. He was very much corporations only use one or two fonts and three different colors, and that's it. You don't want to deviate from that because you'll confuse people and think. And I was just like, I don't want people to identify with us by how our fonts, what our fonts are. I want them to, look at the page and see us and say, hey, I want to see what they're talking about this week.
Yeah.
So we went our separate ways. We didn't agree on that, and it was it was a stalemate. And I was like, you know what? Let's just push on. But it's just strange how some people think that there's only one way to do.
I know,
things.
especially a creative endeavor. I feel like there's so much more leeway there.
I'm still left confused about that. Like a creative telling someone to bottle themselves up and not be creative. It was interesting. It was very interesting.
It's just. I guess it's just a different way of being, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah. I don't know, but here we are, moving on and continuing to try to, create something. As an artist, I don't know if you got to watch any of our videos on this channel. What are some things you like? What are some things you would like to see going forward? We are, speaking to artists. We have my wife, doing, paintings and things like that. She just got a Cintiq 24, the drawing tablet.
Okay.
These things. I got that for her. So she's learning to use that. We did do an unboxing of that.
Nice.
That thing, yeah. So we did an unboxing video of that. But what are some things you would like to see on a YouTube channel that is about, creativity and art?
I really love interviews with artists. That is something that I really enjoy, just hearing another perspective. I listen to a lot of stuff while I'm painting. So that's more my thing. I don't take as much time to watch stuff, unfortunately. Even though I make videos that are visually, hopefully have something going on.
Right.
So yeah, I really do love the interviews. That really is my thing, because sometimes someone will say something and maybe it's directly what they're saying, but maybe it also just like launches you in another direction, and it was just the thing that you needed to hear right then. And I think there's a lot to be said for this process that you're doing of drawing people out and having these conversations. I really do feel like there's a ripple effect of the conversations that is so important. So
it's been a great experience, and I think everything we've said, as long as we've had the right the right heart going into everything we've done. So we haven't gotten any bad results. We have come across people that don't have the same, aim, if you will. So that is always a point of contention for us. Like we always just have these, these great people we meet, and everything is awesome until you get to this point where, we want to do things the way, we intend to do them. We don't want any restrictions, especially on creativity. And then that doesn't work out. So we've had two crossroads like that in the last 2 years, and it's worked out for everybody, but it's just sad, when you want, you have creatives that you want to work with and you just can't. It's kind of tough.
Yeah, I used to write for Professional Artist magazine, which was this pretty stuffy magazine that ended up closing for good reason. But well, one of the things that they required actually was like, this was not even that long ago, it was like 2016 when I was writing for 2017. And they would only let you write about artists who had their own website. Like if they had Instagram, it wasn't enough. Wow. And I'm like, I understand they're called professional artists, they're trying to encourage people, but it was still like, there's lots of people, especially young artists, who just are not going to invest in that right now. And it just disappointing. But similarly, like I'd come across artists who I really wanted to interview and they did not want to talk about their work, or they weren't interested in talking about to a magazine that was really focused on career, on like, business stuff.
Right.
And yeah, it is disappointing, but
oh yeah, very, very.
but then hopefully you find the person that, the right fit. So.
We do. I mean, it's a balance. I mean, everything is not for everybody, and we just kind of our feet are always moving. Like we never kind of stop and kind of mourn, the whole loss. We just kind of, all right, that happened.
Yep.
Let's keep moving. And that's been our thing in and out of art, just in life in general. When we hit a bump, we just kind of.
Yeah, it's information, and you move on with that new information. That's all.
We adjust and we move on.
Yeah.
You did have a while ago, and I think it was almost exactly 2 years ago. There was an exhibition you did, and there was a picture that you did of Trump, and there was some hubbub about that.
Yeah, there was.
So about that.
Yeah, so it was showing in Montclair at the public library there, and it was there were 3 parties involved in the debacle that happened around that. There was me, there was the library, and then there was the curators who were a part of a group called Studio Montclair. So it was a separate group that was coming in and curating the art into the library space. And that's important because a library, as a publicly owned institution, does have free speech requirements sort of imposed upon it. It's not a private business.
Right.
It is required as a government entity to support artists or whoever, also the books in there to support the concept of free speech and to support free speech itself. Right. So this painting was in a show called Love and Fear, and all the paintings were a mix. So like I'm saying that there could be a painting about love right next to a painting about fear, and you weren't being told which one was which, but the idea was that you would know. And one of the pieces that had been curated in was a painting called Hello Shitty for short. And it was based on Hello Kitty, because Hello Kitty, I don't know if you know this, was designed to not have a mouth, specifically so that you could project your feelings onto the kitty. So she would be feeling whatever you're feeling.
Right.
And it feels like Trump does that with his supporters, where they like feel like he gets them on some deep level. And also Hello Kitty is like this hugely merchandised character, right? And Trump is too, like he's just constantly creating and selling stuff, producing stuff for his followers to buy. So I was like, it's kind of perfect. So I made Hello Shitty. And so the word shitty appeared all over. I hope it's okay that I'm saying that. It appeared all over the painting. But the curator, so one of the people from Studio Montclair, asked me to change the title. And I was like, you can call it Hello Kitty President, that's fine. And she had seen, images of the piece, she'd curated it in. So I was assuming that she knew that shitty appeared in there, right? Another bit of text that appeared in there was a hat that instead of saying make America great again, it said make America white again, as sort of the hat that Trump would actually want to be wearing if he was being fully expressed as who he is, as the racist he is, Right. And so when the painting was hung, before the show even opened, some of the patrons of the library saw it and were disgusted by the Make America White Again, which I am as well. So I agree with them on that. But they were like, I don't want to see that every day, which I totally understand. And so Studio Montclair decided to take the painting down because of that. And I was disappointed, but I was like, whatever, it is what it is, And so I made a video about how I agreed with these patrons who wanted to take it down because I understood. The problem was it was a library. And so a library, even if it wasn't the library itself that was taking it down, a library being a part to art being put up and then taken down was a problem. So there's this group called the National, I think it's Council Against Censorship, it's NCAC, that like heard about this because the press started writing about all of this happening. Right. And like came down on the library director and was like, you can't do this. And he was like, what? I didn't even know this was happening. And then Newsweek picked up the story.
Right.
Painting was reinstated. And, it was, I think, like I said, like I agreed with the people who didn't like it, but the show was about fear.
Right.
So that was, I am terrified that everything that he is doing. And so there was a reason why it was a part of it. And it just maybe if the show had opened and they knew that it was called Love and Fear, or, maybe if there was more context, a better communication, like we've been talking about, communicating around the art, maybe it would have been more acceptable to them. I don't know.
I doubt it, but
yeah, it's true.
I just find creativity being a space where, I mean, anything in life, you can't please everyone, but especially in this climate we've been in for the last, I would say, last 8 years, because even during the Obama administration, there was a bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
a bunch of that kind of, the storm was already.
McConnell was already doing his thing.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it really speaks to where we are as a country,
Mhm.
where people are more verbally expressive of what they do and don't like people to say, and how they express themselves. But um I don't understand why people don't understand that when they're coming into a venue or whatever. There's going to be art there. There's going to be something you don't get. There's going to be something you don't
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
and you can keep walking. Surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right?
Surprise. We went to the art museum. Yeah, France had never been to the Philadelphia Art Museum. So last year for our anniversary, I took her and we
Nice.
walked that entire plate, like the entire thing. And the parks outside. We walked like 10 miles that day, I think. But there were some things we were just like, what is this? What is this?
Yeah.
But it was still interesting in the space that we were in. It was still interesting. And it wasn't like we would harp on or ever go to someone and say, hey, that shouldn't that
Yeah.
shouldn't be hanging up here.
Well,
I don't
it was also
understand people that are like that. Like,
it was also interesting because the Studio Montclair tried to avoid any um, fingers being pointed at them. And
right,
so instead of telling Newsweek, for example, that they had taken down the piece because the patrons were unhappy because they felt like the painting was bringing up too much racism for them,
right,
was itself racist, um, they were like, "Oh, the artist lied to us and told us that she didn't tell us that there were swear words in the painting, so we had to take it down because of the word shitty." And I was like, that is like, I have literally emails where you asked me to change the title. Like, you are
right.
literally lying to cover your butts, and
Yeah,
you're throwing me under the bus because why? Like, why is that even? And when I tried to get Newsweek to correct it, they wouldn't. They
right.
just ignored my emails because it's not that interesting. Who cares about the after story? This is like, typical right now.
Exactly. Yeah,
Whoever speaks loudest and speaks first with the most controversial story, like Trump,
yeah,
his narrative is the one that dominates, even though it is not true.
yeah.
Um, Not to compare Studio Montclair to Trump, they're not as evil as he is, obviously, but
Right, right.
they were scared, and this is what they did. And it did make me realize. So, because then a year later, Newsweek did another story about it, an artist, this time a student, I think in Michigan, who did a painting that was like based on Judith and Holofernes, which is a painting by a female Renaissance artist whose name I can't remember, where it's like a biblical woman who's sawing the head off of this dude. And in the painting, I don't know if it's her face, but the dude is Trump, and she's sawing his head off.
Right.
And the university put it up on their site and then took it right down because people were so angry about it. And so Newsweek did a story about that as well, because the university was also a public university, so they had requirements about free speech. But literally the university was trying to throw their student under the bus and being like, she should have read this. And I was like, and in that Newsweek article, my stuff was referenced. And so then I wrote to Newsweek again and I was like, look, if you were going to bring this up again and again, like, please make sure that you understand that this was a lie from these people that you're believing because they are an institution, not an artist. And
Right.
please consider that this artist, this student artist, is having the same thing. Because for me, at the time, I was in my 30s. I've been making art for over 15 years. This kid, she's 50, she's like 20, and she's just starting, maybe not even knowing whether she wants to do art. That happens to you right at the beginning.
Right. Right.
Like, I have felt frozen by what was done to me. Like, imagine a 20-year-old
Yeah.
old this happening to
Because
her.
it's going to do one of two things. It's going to stonewall you from putting yourself out there again, or it's going to propel you
I
because
hope it
you're
propels
so
her.
angry and you just
Yeah.
want to like shove your art down everyone's throat. Like, I'm going
Yeah.
to do this. Yeah.
I
So
hope it does.
yeah, exactly. Hopefully it
Yeah.
lit a fire for her. But I've seen it and I've been a victim of it myself, where
Oh yeah.
certain things will just kind of turn you off and you'll just let it go for a bit. Some people
Yeah.
let it go forever. Who
Yeah.
knows? But yeah, the media in general, I don't. It's been a help for us. We've had a few publications write about what we were doing and fundraisers and things we did at the studio.
Mhm.
But we have had some negative experiences,
Yeah.
and that, and nothing, to the tune of what you've dealt with there. But um not every person is there to support, or even to just observe. Some are
Mhm.
there just to create chaos.
It's
Like
true. It's
it
true.
is insane. Like, they are literally there just to create whatever controversy they can. And I just take it for that. But I just wanted to talk back about that because obviously it's very relevant right now as we sit and wait for someone to walk out the door.
Yeah.
And what I remember the significance when you put the Newsweek article. I was like, wow, that is big. So I wanted everyone to know about that, and I will post up pictures of references of everything we're talking about so people can kind of see
Cool.
what we're talking about. But I appreciate you sharing that and going through all that for us. We definitely appreciate it. So what we want to do is basically, once everything is all over with, we want to get all of our artist friends together and just have something. I don't care what it is, if you're just gonna come and just do live, everybody's just in a corner painting, or you just want to meet and greet people and talk to people. I know you don't do a ton of stuff like that, but we're trying to make a unique event where it's not all about selling art and it's not all about the normal stuff that would be in a venue. I don't know what that's all
It
going to
sounds
look like,
awesome.
but hopefully
Yeah.
you would like to be involved. We're trying to
And
do
there will be vegan food, right? Am I right?
absolutely, absolutely. Well, definitely. My dad will be sure of that. He'll
Nice.
be sure of that. But um, I guess we can't even put a date on it. We can't even speculate when that's going to be now. But we will obviously be in touch with you and continue to be in touch
Thank
with
you.
you,
Yes.
even in your social media afterlife. As you
That's
can.
right. Yes. In
Um,
my social media death. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Please.
so if so if we can be of any service at all, I don't care if we can share something, for you, or if you want to come on and talk for a minute or whatever you're doing, if you want us to put it out there, definitely let us know. Send us an
Cool.
email. We'll absolutely put it out there for you, and try to get as many eyes on it as we can.
Thank you.
But
This is really fun. This is so
yeah,
fun. You give good interview.
thank
It's
you.
a skill. It really
I
is.
try to make it as informal as possible. So
Yeah. It's great. It's great.
But that's awesome. I really, really appreciate you coming on. I've been like dying to do something with you. So I'm glad it starts here and hopefully it'll continue with other things. But we'll continue to follow you and support you. Um, just let everyone know before we go where they can find you. No more Instagram, no more Facebook. You're still on Twitter. Let them know everywhere they can find you, your website, Patreon, everything. How can they find Gwenn now?
Yeah, my website is my home on the web. So you come there, we'll have a cup of tea, virtually together. You can email me through it, but my website is gwennseemel.com, GWENNSEEMEL.com.
Awesome. And the
Yeah,
website is really cool, so definitely go and check it out. We'll have all the information in the description below. Definitely support Gwenn in all her endeavors. She's an amazing artist, and an amazing person, we find out today.
thank
So
you.
thank you very much for coming on. And we look forward to speaking to you soon.
Sounds great. Have a good
Have a
night.
good one. Bye bye.